Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I can't imagine a better place to talk about the importance of transportation to Florida's economy and future growth. The Florida Chamber has been an exceptional partner for the Florida Department of Transportation as we've worked to deliver record-breaking transportation investments that have catapulted Florida farther and faster than any other state reeling from the recession. 4 years ago, with the support of Governor Scott, the Florida Legislature, and your membership, we began to think about transportation differently. You recognize that by making strategic investments in freight and logistics, improving our traffic corridors, and planning for future growth in our state, we could make Florida the #1 place to do business. From my perspective, we've earned that distinction. Today, I want to share with you some of our accomplishments over the last 4 years and look ahead to the next 4. As many of you have heard by now, Governor Scott continues to lead the way in ensuring that Florida transportation infrastructure is second to none. Yesterday, the governor announced his recommended budget, which included $9.9 billion for transportation. He fully funded the requests that we made to the governor's office. And it follows our record funding this year of $10.1 billion. So I just want to take a minute and take a step back. The attention of the governor, the attention of the legislature, the summit that we're having this morning, to stop and think about and remind ourselves why transportation is so important to our state. A good quality infrastructure connects people to businesses. Everybody in this room is working today, and you all got here relying on Florida's transportation network. We connect visitors to the state. We connect goods to market. Florida produces a number of excellent commodities, but those commodities and those services are no good if we can't connect them to the people that we're trying to serve. Transportation also connects kids to school. It doesn't connect my son to his school. It connects him about a block short. He's in middle school, so I drop him off at the corner, and he doesn't want Dad dropping him off in the circle anymore, so our transportation network connects me to the stop sign right in front of his school. But it's more than just making connections. A well-funded and maintained infrastructure is the foundation of a healthy economy. It's what drives visitors to our state. Along with our schools, it's one of the top considerations businesses make before moving or expanding here. Last summer, the Washington Post looked across the country and surveyed infrastructure, and they put it this way. But amid the potholes and crumbling pylons, one state stands out. Florida ranks near the top in nearly every measure of road transportation. And they went so far as to encourage those in the harsh winter and tax climates to seek solace further south. This is what they said. So this winter, more residents of the Northeast and the Midwest might consider decamping to sunny Florida, where their cars will have an easier time on some of the country's best roads. Given the weather of the last couple of days, I'm certain that that message resonates now more than ever. As I mentioned earlier, under the leadership of Governor Scott, we reframed our focus on transportation investments. What DOT does just isn't about adding more lane miles or bridges or guardrails. We're more than just the sum of the very good quality infrastructure that we construct. Strategic investments in our infrastructure are helping deliver the governor's vision of making Florida the best state for businesses and family, and we are on the right track. This year, we have a record-breaking $10 billion transportation budget, the largest in Florida history. Since December of 2010, we've added more than 728,000 private sector jobs, and the state unemployment rate has fallen to 5.6%. We're on track for 100 million visitors in our state, up from about 80 million annual visitors not too long ago. And we surpassed New York as the 3rd most populous state in the country. And we're not that far from knocking Texas off as the top state in the country to do business. None of this would have happened without the leadership of the governor, without the legislature, without everyone in this room and our partners across the state to ensure that transportation investments remain on the top of legislators' minds in Tallahassee. It's no secret that Governor Scott is focused on results and he holds his agencies accountable. In his first year in office, he laid out a bold, innovative vision for the department with the following goals: spurring private sector job creation and getting our economy growing by having the best transportation infrastructure in the country. The Florida Transportation Vision for the 21st Century outlined specific commitments to deliver strategic road projects faster than we had, to help our ports prepare for the expansion of the Panama Canal, to improve the movement of freights and goods across the state, to identify innovations in tolling, and to make strategic investments in transit. We were to focus on strategic investments in space and aviation, and begin the process of planning for future corridors to link major metropolitan areas in the state. That vision included very specific deliverables. At the midpoint of Governor Scott's term, and in the spirit of what gets measured gets done, let's get out the red pen and grade Florida DOT's progress on that vision. Before I get to that, I want to say that the last 4 years we were very fortunate at DOT to have a bold and innovative secretary, Ananth Prasad, who's with us this morning, who's been a tremendous mentor to me, but certainly helped transform DOT and is responsible for the progress that I'm getting ready to talk about. In 2011, we promised faster project delivery, and we identified a number of projects that we would deliver. They spanned the state, and they were valued at $1.8 billion. So where are we now, 4 years later? Every single project on that list has either been completed or is currently under construction. Since 2011, we've began or completed work on several other legacy projects that aren't on this list, but that you all know very well. The Port of Miami Tunnel, the Miami Dredge to prepare for post-Panamax, 595 Express, and next month, the reconstruction of Interstate 4 in Central Florida. We'll talk more about these in a minute. With the governor's recommended budget hot off the presses, I'm excited to say that we have a whole new list of projects to add to the list from 2011. And if y'all want to stop for a minute and think about what that means. In 2011, the department and Secretary Prasad came up with a bucket list of projects that would transform transportation in this state. 4 years later, we're through that bucket list, and we're coming up with a second bucket list of projects to go through. The governor's recommending the legislature a $9.1 billion work program. It includes funding levels at or above current year in highway construction, resurfacing, aviation improvements, bridge repair and replacement, maintenance, and transit grants. Just to give you a preview of several of the new projects that have been added to our work program, in Northeast Florida, we'll construct a new $179 million interchange at I-95 and I-295 in Duval County, which will alleviate congestion and account for future growth around the airport and the port. In Northwest Florida, we have several projects designed to improve mobility along evacuation routes and a $46 million project to add lanes along 9 Mile Road in Escambia County. Down in Southwest Florida, we have a $60 million project to add lanes and reconstruct I-75 in Charlotte County. In Southeast Florida, we have our $78 million Chrome Avenue project, which is a critically important project for the department. There have been a number of wrong-way crashes, a number of unfortunate and unacceptable deaths on that, so these safety improvements at Chrome Avenue will make a real difference. It's a priority for the department. In East Central Florida, we have $28 million for a new interchange at I-95 and the St. John's Heritage Parkway, which many of us know better as the Palm Bay Parkway. And in West Central Florida, and this is a personal priority for me, $148 million to extend the Suncoast Parkway from US 98 to State Road 44. In DOT, we call this Suncoast 2. When combined with the existing Suncoast Parkway, the new 13-mile extension, and the Veterans Expressway, it will create a 70-mile limited access facility stretching from downtown Tampa to Citrus County. In the last 4 years, we've delivered a number of important projects thanks to leadership of the governor and the legislature. And as you can see, we have a busy 4 years ahead of us. You can be assured we will deliver these projects as well. In 2011, the governor made clear that with the widening of the Panama Canal, Florida had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take advantage of several global import and export changes in the landscape. Instead of waiting on the federal government, which could have put Miami at the risk of not being ready for the Panama Canal expansion, the governor and DOT advanced the federal cost share of the dredge project. So where are we today? The Panama Canal is expected to be completed sometime next year. The Port of Miami deep dredge will be complete before that. Both Jacksport and Port Everglades are following Miami's lead, and we will continue to assist those ports with their priorities. Preparing for the expansion of the Panama Canal doesn't just mean that we need to dredge all of Florida's 15 deepwater ports to a post-Panamax depth. In fact, quite the opposite. Florida's varied ports, which all operate at different portions of the market, mean that Florida is prepared to compete at all levels of the shipping industry, and that we will continue to produce high-quality jobs and economic prosperity throughout the state. The state's recent investments in seaports and freight corridors have not only produced increases in jobs and seaport freight and passengers, they've spurred new large-scale private sector investments. such as Amazon's new distribution centers in Tampa Bay and Lakeland, FedEx's recently announced distribution center in Ocala, Air Products manufacturing plant in Palmetto, and numerous distribution and expansions along the I-4 corridor. These results are concrete examples of how Florida DOT's infrastructure investments lead to private sector investments, job growth, and prosperity. During the next 4 years, we will continue our unprecedented investments in Florida ports so that at the end of the governor's term in office, the state will have invested over $1 billion in our ports. We will continue to work with other Florida ports as they explore post-Panamax dredge projects. Jacksport and Port Everglades are well along in that process, and DOT will be right there as partners every step of the way. We will continue to make strategic investments in waterways, port facilities, and intermodal networks that will build on Florida's position as a world-class import-export destination and cement our leadership as the great passenger cruise market in the world. We will make additional investments to attract and target large-scale manufacturing and logistics services in Florida's seaport systems and intermodal networks. 4 years ago, we started a discussion about offering customers more choices on their commutes and began to design and build a system of managed lanes to address congestion throughout the state. Managed lanes enhance transit services, accommodate future growth, improve emergency evacuation and system connectivity. These new projects allow customers to choose whether to pay a toll to use the express lanes or continue to drive toll-free on the general purpose lanes. It's a critical point. These managed lanes are about choice. As we build express lane networks, we maintain the same number of free general purpose lanes as exist today, but we offer additional lanes that are tolled that people can choose to use. Our first managed lanes project was I-95 in Miami-Dade County. The 95 Express project is a proven success. By introducing choice and market forces, we've improved travel time for both those who choose to pay the tolls and take advantage of the express lane and those who choose not to pay the tolls and remain in the general purpose lanes. It's an important point. The travel time has improved for both people paying the toll and the people not paying the toll. We've also incorporated an important transit element in the express lanes, the use of buses to maximize the number of people benefiting from the express lanes. Recent data shows that the average speed in the untolled general purpose lanes has doubled during peak period. As impressive a statistic as that is, and make no mistake, doubling travel speed is an impressive transportation statistic. It isn't about data or statistics or metrics. This is about getting people to and from work quicker, giving them more time at home with their families, and making it easier for them to enjoy all that Florida has to offer. Building on the success of 95 Express, we envision an entire South Florida Express Lanes network comprised of 95 Express, 595 Express, 75 Express, and the Palmetto Express. So where are we today? At the time, 595 was our largest project ever, and it was also the department's first public-private partnership, or P3. After slightly more than 4 years of construction, this project opened in March of last year. The project was delivered on budget and on schedule, and was completed 15 years sooner than it would have been if we had used traditional contracting methods. The 75 Express project is a $481 million project in Broward and Miami-Dade County. 4 express lanes are being built in the median, and construction began last year. The project will be opened in phases, and we anticipate final completion in 2019. The Palmetto Express project will provide continuity from the I-75 express lanes to I-595 in Broward County, and that project is slated for completion in 2017. When complete, the South Florida Express Lane networks will build on the success of 95 Express and extend the benefits of this approach throughout South Florida. However, as we all know, South Florida isn't the only region in the state in need of attention, which is why we'll introduce the managed lanes concept to other regions of the state. First up is Central Florida. Next month, we will begin construction of the I-4 Ultimate project in Orange and Seminole counties. It's a $2.3 billion project. It's another P3 for the department, and it will transform 21 miles of I-4 in Central Florida. It's sort of astounding if you think that most of the interchanges on I-4 were built before Disney, not built to handle the capacity that we have. In addition to completely reconstructing the corridor, the project includes 4 new express lanes, in addition to the existing untolled lanes. As was the case with 595 in South Florida, the P3 approach will allow us to complete the project much faster than we would have through a traditional construction approach. It's a difference between 6 or 7 years versus 20 or 25 years in our traditional construction approach. And I'm pleased to announce that in the next 4 years, we will introduce the managed lanes concept to Tampa. And while it's not a managed lane project, we will build the First Coast Expressway in Jacksonville. You know, I want to stop for a minute and talk about customer service, which is critically important to everything we do at DOT. But as we expand tolling throughout the state, it will become even more important. I love to drive on the roads, and customer service is important in that. But once somebody starts putting their hand in my pocket and going through my wallet, it's a very different conversation. And so customer service and communication will be critically important as we expand tolling in the state. In 2011, we had promised to embrace transit as a transportation option where it was needed as part of an overall approach to serve the transportation needs of a state as diverse as Florida. So how'd we do? During the last 4 years, our statewide transit ridership has increased over 13% to 278 million trips per year, which is significantly faster than the growth in our population, and it's faster than the overall growth on our highway system. Because of this growth, the department continues to invest a significant amount of funding to help our regions, counties, and cities provide these transportation services. We've provided capital funding and state infrastructure bank loans to help build new transit administration, maintenance, and operation facilities. And we funded new intermodal facilities with leases to intercity bus providers, which is the fastest growing mode of transportation in our country, at both the Miami Intermodal Center and the Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center. DOT also funds a significant portion of the services provided through the Florida Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged. We continue to provide matching funds to support the development of New Start Transit, both rail and bus rapid transit, which helps these projects qualify for additional federal dollars. Successful projects developed in recent years with DOT partners include the extension of the Miami Metro Rail system to the Miami Intermodal Center at the airport, the Sunrail commuter system in Central Florida, and the I-95 express bus services, which carry thousands of passengers on our managed lane networks between Broward County and downtown Miami. We're soon to begin construction on Sunrail Phase 2, bringing Sunrail to Osceola County and then north to DeLand. And we're working with our local partners to extend this service to the new Intermodal Center at the Orlando International Airport. The department's goal is to help increase transit usage by investing strategically in these projects. It's important that transit be a locally driven solution and that our local partners are prepared to pay for the operation and maintenance costs going forward. I talked earlier about how Florida's on track for 100 million visitors. About half of those visitors come here by air. The other half obviously come by the roads. They all come here using transportation. But I want to focus for a minute on the half that come here by Florida's airports. Florida's aviation system accommodates approximately 145 million passengers each year, and we make strategic investments in airports across the state. In recent years, we've invested at some of Florida's busiest airports, Miami, Orlando, and Tampa, and we will continue to improve air service for the benefit of residents and visitors alike. I want to talk briefly about our role in supporting Florida's space industry. When NASA announced the end of shuttle operations at Cape Canaveral, many feared the lasting impact that decision would have on the region. It's undoubtedly been a difficult few years in the area, but we have made significant progress in transforming the state and building a new commercial space industry in its place. Much of the space, launch, and recovery infrastructure at Cape Canaveral has been transformed to attract commercial companies. This year, the department is investing over $20 million in infrastructure improvements at Cape Canaveral, and over the next 4, we will continue to work in partnership with Space Florida and the private sector to create jobs and solidify Florida's position as a global leader in space launch and recovery infrastructure. Florida is now the 3rd most populous state in the country. We just passed New York. With significant increases projected for our population, visitors, and freight movement, in 2011 we said that we needed to plan for the growing demand. And to me, the Future Corridors Initiative is one of the most exciting initiatives at the department because it gives us the opportunity to look beyond the horizon and to imagine and plan a transportation corridor that doesn't exist today. Since we announced our plans in 2011, we've successfully concluded our first corridor planning initiative. The East Central Florida Corridor Task Force, which focuses on the Deseret property, was led by the Department of Economic Opportunity in conjunction with state and local agencies, other landowners, conservation interests, and the public to gain input and to figure out the highest and best use of the undeveloped land, to set aside land for conservation, and figure how that area could be mapped for transportation needs. The task force submitted its recommendation to the governor and the legislature at the end of last year, and it will serve as the model for our future planning efforts in the Future Corridor Initiative. I'm pleased to announce that by the end of this year, we will kick off the second corridor planning initiative, beginning the visioning process for a new transportation corridor between Tampa and Jacksonville. The long-term goal for this 19-county study area is to significantly improve connectivity between Tampa and Jacksonville. And another critical goal is to provide much-needed congestion relief to I-75 through the development of a parallel reliever corridor from the northern terminus of the existing Suncoast Parkway to I-75, connecting somewhere north of Gainesville. I want to talk for a minute before I conclude about the importance of safety. When we receive our budget from the legislature, safety projects are the very first things that we fund. We then fund preservation of the existing system, and then we look at new capacity. So safety is always our top priority at DOT. And I want to spend a minute talking about our comprehensive efforts to make Florida a safer place to ride your bike or take a walk with your family. Florida's beautiful weather means that we have residents and visitors walking, jogging, and biking year-round. It also means that Florida has a significant number of bicycle and pedestrian fatalities and serious injuries. It's unacceptable, and we will not tolerate it. Addressing the issue of bicycle and pedestrian safety requires a comprehensive approach. We have to change the way we design and engineer our roads. We have to improve our education efforts and clarify our traffic laws for vehicles, bicyclists, and pedestrians. The department has undertaken a focused initiative led by one of our district secretaries, Billy Hadaway. As part of that effort, we've developed a series of public education initiatives, most notably the Alert Today, Alive Tomorrow media campaign. We've established Florida's first pedestrian and bicycle strategic safety plan, and the department has adopted the Complete Streets policy. We are seeing some progress, but we have much more work to do. In addition to the areas I've outlined, our legislative proposals for this session include statutory changes that are an important part of this multifaceted approach. We will redouble our efforts and work to ensure that Florida's reputation as a welcoming, friendly, and safe state is true for motorists, pedestrians, and cyclists alike. Our transportation vision for the 21st century was our roadmap for the future. We kept our word. We spurred private sector job creation and helped get our economy growing by having the best transportation infrastructure system in the country. But our work is not done. Today, I've outlined the next steps in delivering that vision. And none of this would have been possible without the strong partnerships of the Florida Chamber, our partners across the state, and many of you in this room. To all of you, I want to say thank you for what you've done to help us accomplish what we have to date, and ask for your help in the next 4 years as we complete the mission. Thank you for your time.